The Graphic Histories Podcast.
I got bit by a radioactive bug. I tried an experimental drug. Went up for a stroll on a gamma testing range. I found an enchanted hurricane. I made a serum that made me small. I modified the serum so it would make me tall. Radioactive isotope in my eyes. Dying alien helped me accessorize. I gained the proportion and strength of a spider. Now I'm invincible and I can fly. I lost my sight, my other senses were heightened. I'm gonna put on my pajamas and go fight crime.
Hey there, and welcome to the Graphic Histories Podcast. My name is Andre Mayette, your podcast host. Big thanks to Uka the Mock for our theme song, Superpowers, and big thanks to you, gentle listener, for tuning in once again to another action-packed, fun-filled show. Today, we are speaking with John R. Carlos, a new author who created the book Cryonic Dreams, who's a series of books that are becoming. The first one, Awakenings, is now out. You can check that out. A cool conversation with a cool guy. Quite a history. You know, as we get into in the conversation, he was in the military, in the Australian military, Air Force, for a very long time. Retired and has now gone on to writing science fiction books. And yeah, very cool guy, you know, interesting story. I was his first ever podcast, so I was happy to be able to have him on the show and have that discussion. It's always nice to speak with creatives of all types, especially as we talk about in the story. I often say that, there's a Kurt Vonnegut quote that I'm going to butcher, so I won't even bother trying. I'll just kind of do my own version of it. But basically, he says that like creating art, no matter how bad, no matter how good, it sort of fills the soul, regardless of the output. There's something about creating art that does something to your, you know, whether you believe in a soul or not, but the concept of something internally that fulfills you in some way that you might not get from your day-to-day life. And yeah, I really feel like speaking with folks that are discovering that later in life and getting to play in an artistic field. I don't mean play to minimize the output. I mean play as in like to be creative. I think play is a word that kind of gets denigrated, meaning that it's not quite as important as others, and I don't think so. I think like playing creatively is very important. That's how you get to a creative thing. You kick ideas around, you think about it, you play with it, you have fun with it, and eventually you kind of settle on the finished output. So getting to play in that realm and create what he's created is a huge feat. And I also often say that even just finishing a creative project is a massive feat, regardless of whether it's good or bad. The concept that you actually have put in the time, the work, had the drive, the determination, and discipline to actually finish a project is huge. So from what I've read of the book, they did provide me a PDF copy after we talked. It's a very cool book. And I don't mean that in a funny way, being that it's about cryogenics, or at least cryogenics plays into it. But it is a really neat little book, and very happy for John's success and for his continued success, and I was very happy to chat with him as well. So very cool to have him on the show. As this is coming out, I believe, I usually record these pretty far in advance. This one's not crazy far in advance, about a week out from when it's coming, when I'm recording this intro, although we talked a few weeks ago, me and John. We're getting into Halloween season, which is a season that I deeply love. Those who listen to the show and have listened for a long time know that it is one of, if I'd say it's tied for my favorite seasons. I do like Christmas, but Halloween is now here, and I'm excited. It means I get to watch some horror movies. I get to hang out and do spooky stuff, which is always a blast. I've always been a big fan of horror movies. Always loved them for many, many reasons. But now I get to kind of immerse myself in the Halloweenness of it all, which is always a joy. So if you're a listener to the show and you want to suggest some great Halloween movies, horror movies, stuff like that you think I would enjoy, please shoot them off to me and just send them on Facebook, Instagram. Send out a smoke signal, send me a raven, whatever way you like to contact folks. Please do so. Let me know about some cool horror things out there that could use my attention. I've kind of recently fell into those reels that show up on social media of people that suggest, obscure horror movies. And I have so many sitting in my collection already that I don't necessarily need to do that. But I don't know. I like movies and shows and, docs about movies and shows and docs. So, one of my comfort things is just to watch this documentary called In Search of Darkness, which kind of goes through the history of all these horror movies. And they just have talking heads talking about each of the movies, a little blurb about them, and then move on to the next one. They recently did a 90s one, which I like. They're doing it in two parts. I have the first part, second part's not out yet. But it's like 6 hours of just people talking about old horror movies. I don't know why. I really like it. It's fun to throw on and at a party or something in the background because you never know what you see. Horrors around every corner. We get to enjoy it during the spooky season. So, and speaking of enjoying stuff, I think maybe you like this transition. I think maybe you'll enjoy this conversation that I had with John R. Carlos. So, all the way from sunny Australia, I had my conversation, which is a 13-hour time difference, I believe. Which is always funny, because you're talking to someone the next day on their day than yours. But hey, we got there, and it was a great conversation. So here it is, my talk with author of Cryonic Dreams, John R. Carlos.
Well, I was actually born in Spain, in Madrid.
Oh wow,
Um, yeah, but my parents migrated out here when I was about two.
really?
So I've been here all my life basically.
What brought
So
your parents to Spain, or what brought your parents from Spain to Australia?
what made them
Yeah.
um, search for more opportunities.
Hmm.
Um, uh, it's I'm just trying to reflect on things my mother might have said in the past, but yeah, it was mainly about because there was not a lot of opportunity in Spain at the
Mm.
time because it was like would have been because I was born in 1960,
Hmm.
so um, it was only 15 years after the Second World War and the Spanish Civil War, which was just before that. And there was not a lot of money. So there's a lot of poverty in Spain.
Hmm.
And so when she got married, they decided to look for more opportunities. And in Australia, I think mum even said that she saw an advertisement in the newspaper by the Australian Embassy, and so she just inquired and made inquiries, and well, the rest is history.
It's funny. Like it's every once in a while I'll see stuff like that. Like there'll be some ad for like, hey, come, if you have a degree in this, you can come live on this island in like Italy, and they'll like give you so much money or you get a house as long as you come and you can do that job there. So
Yeah,
like yeah, like it's very tempting. I mean, I'm very happy where I am and what I got, but the idea that you can just like kind of pick up and go to some completely other country and learn
yeah,
all about it, you're like, oh man, that sounds like an amazing thing. So it must have been a little tough. Like I assume um, going from
yeah,
Spain to Australia it would be quite
yes,
a culture shock.
yeah, yeah. Culturally,
Hmm.
yes, and I mean, having to learn another language
Hmm.
because she didn't know English at the time,
Hmm.
and back in those days, they didn't teach languages in school,
Hmm.
and even like she left school when she was 11 or 12
Oh wow, okay.
because she had to go out and work to help the family put food on the table.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way it was. Um, so she was born in 38. So just as the Spanish Civil War finished.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
and that's something not we need to get into history, but that's like a conflict that I don't think is represented or talked about as much. And like I host trivia at a local
yeah,
bar here in town, and it comes up every once in a while. But like it's not like it's something that people, unless you have family or someone directly related to it, it's not something that is often discussed when you talk about like past wars and how horrible some of them were. And
yeah, you don't hear it very often.
no.
Um, it was used by uh, Hitler and the Russians because it was it was all about political power.
Hmm.
So there was the communists on one side, there was the Republicans on the other,
Hmm.
and it was a war between them. But um, Hitler used his power to actually support the Republican movement, uh, while the Russians assisted the communist movement.
Mm.
So in the end, it was Franco who took control, and he was sort of lent on the fascist side,
Mhm.
um, and ran the country with a
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
with a
Uh,
lot of control, as you would
yeah.
expect. Yeah, yeah,
Well, it's funny how, like, they say that those who forget the past is doomed to repeat it. And it feels like certain areas of the world are definitely, I think I read somewhere recently that there's like more, the amount of countries that are kind of have, I mean, this is including, there's a lot of countries still. It's like like a significant amount. I have to go back and double look at it. But I was saying something along like fascism is pretty rampant in like 70% of countries. And I was like, that can that be true? And I feel like it might be based on the way things are going. So it's alarming. But
yeah,
yeah, I always thought my favorite reference for it was I think Pan's Labyrinth. I thought that was took place. It was either took place during the Spanish Civil War or just after into World War II. I can't remember, but that was my first
yeah.
reference, and I was like, because I was probably like 20s and 20-ish when that came out. I remember thinking like, what war was this? And then going and looking and going, oh, okay, well yeah, wow. What did your mother end up doing when she got to Australia?
Well,
Or your folks in general?
they became battlers, like Aussie battlers. That's like is the term they use in Australia. So
Mhm.
they just tried to build a life for themselves,
Yeah.
and um, they had some success,
Hmm.
although there was a lot of sacrifice by both my parents,
Mm.
because my father ended up having to work because um, he he learned how to become a mechanic because he used to be a taxi driver in Spain,
Hmm.
right? And then when he came out here, he ended up working up north on the big trucks
Okay.
that they used for the on the mines in the northwest of Western Australia.
Hmm.
Um, and so he would go up there. We lived in Perth,
Hmm.
which is on the west coast, so in the lower part.
I have a friend who
And he would go up north, and he'd spend most of his time up there, and then he'd come down for like a mid-year, and then probably Christmas time.
Mhm.
And so we hardly ever saw him.
No.
And so there were sacrifices made, and ultimately it did affect the marriage. So my parents ended up splitting up,
Mm.
and so for a while, um, just before I joined the Air Force, actually, my mother was alone for a couple of years.
Hmm.
So
So you're in the Australian Air Force?
yes,
Wow.
yeah.
So is that right out of high school or?
Well, um, it was just after high school. I was in the Army Cadets.
Uh,
Um, I think you call it something else in the States. It's
oh,
ROTC or something like that.
yeah. I think Canada's one is the
Oh,
air.
that's right. You,
Yeah, no, no,
yeah,
yeah. I think it's the
yeah,
Air Cadets or something. It's like I think that's what they call it. I can't remember. There's a couple of them, but I was never in it. I was like was it Beavers or
yeah,
Cubs or one of those other groups? But
yeah,
yeah, I do had friends that were in it. And it was sort of like the first step into that. Yeah.
yeah. So I've been in uniform since I was about 13, no, 14, I think it was. So
And was that like a call to were you like a rebellious kid and that was like this is going to straighten him out or is it just you had an interest
no,
in that?
no, I it was just something I was interested in,
Hmm.
and so when I finished high school, uh, I didn't do as well as I'd hoped.
Hmm.
So I naturally looked at joining the military, and I picked the Air Force. Um, and it just seemed the best way to go. If I, wasn't going to go pursue um, further education, I thought, well, I'll do something that I know and that I like. So I joined the military.
Yeah.
So because I'd been in the cadets, enlisting into the Air Force was easy.
Mm.
It was I already knew some of the information they taught us anyway
Mm.
because I learned it on while I was in the cadets.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the point of it, right? Like it's something, a good group for kids to teach them values and I'm assuming, how to be organized, regiment and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I suppose that's kind of the path, right? Like their hope is that you will carry on and continue on in that world.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I ended up having you could call it two careers in the Air Force because I did do further education in my own time once I had enlisted,
Hmm.
and so in my 30s I actually applied for a commission. So I went from being an enlisted um, airman
Hmm.
to an officer.
Ah,
And so it was like having two careers,
yeah, I would say.
airman and one as a commissioned officer. So, and it was hard work, but it paid off.
Yeah, obviously. Well, as a kid, like going through all that stuff and like I know you're a writer, so was like reading, rediscovering certain books at a young age is something that was sort of instilling in you that love.
Well, what I did find is I ended up finding that I had a knack for writing.
Hmm.
Uh, Most of my experience was with business documents,
Hmm.
but I found I could write a good argument generally.
Very important.
um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I did eventually retire, I did try a couple of times to kickstart it while I was still working, but it was as I became more senior, it was hard to find the time.
Mm.
So it wasn't until I actually retired 5 years ago now,
Hmm.
but I I investigated the creative side a little further,
Hmm.
and ultimately, it paid off, and I wrote Cryonic Dreams,
Hmm.
and have got three other books in the pipeline now. So
Oh wow. See, I love that because I'm a firm believer that like there's a little creativity in everybody. Certain people will be like, well, because I draw and I write and I do stuff too, but people are like, well, I can never do that. And it's like, hey, you just try.
yeah,
I think there's some avenue, maybe you don't know what it is, maybe it's music, maybe you're, a natural drummer, who knows? But there's something, I don't know, that kind of feeds, not that I really believe in it, but like feeds your soul, for lack of a better term. It sort of like fills you up in a different way. And I love the idea that like, coming out of the, military, full military career to be like, now I'm going to pick it up and then, have success
yeah.
and well,
It,
like,
it's
yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so it's a mind shift
Mm,
because the way you write business documents and particularly military documents
mm.
is very concise and very
Oh yeah, I'd
to the
imagine.
point. Right? But create when you're talking about creative writing, it's just it's completely different. It's a
Mm.
different dimension, and
Yeah.
so you have to bring you have to have that mind shift so that, and even in my early creative writing, not that long ago, um, you could see I was still coming out with this rigidity
Ah, okay.
in the way I was writing a scene or whatever.
Hmm.
And but practice
Hmm.
makes perfect. And I got there. The Chronic Dreams took me a long time to complete
Mm.
because not only was I learning um, to be a creative writer, but I was also going through that mind shift. So there were many iterations of the story.
Hmm.
So every scene evolved and changed a number of times, and um, so much so that the the story I had written turned into two books, and then into three because there was just more story there
Hmm.
that I than you could bring out in a single book.
That's awesome.
So, um, but it was an experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say. Did you have like an affinity? Like I assume it's a science fiction story based on
Yes.
yes. Did you have an affinity for that? Like were you reading sci-fi as a kid or like growing up in your own?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been a science fiction, more science fiction, but fantasy also. Um, very interested in it. Read a number of books, seen a lot of movies,
Oh yeah, yeah.
as you do. Yeah. Bit of a Trekkie fan.
Perfect.
Um, they, the Star Trek universe probably I found more interesting than others, but I
Yeah, I
don't
can
know
see
why
that.
particularly. Maybe because I was in the military and there was, that military aspect to Star Trek
I was going to
on the
make that
side.
connection, yeah. I was
Yeah,
also going to say that maybe like I think Star Trek's interesting because it's one of the few that like surmises that things are going to be okay. Like, yes,
yeah,
humans were going to be
yeah,
all right. We're going to,
exactly.
yeah. Most of
There's
them are
all
like it's all a dystopian hellscape where we're fighting for gasoline, or something. And it's like, and that's maybe more accurate. I don't want to admit that, but the concept that hey, we're going to figure it out. We're going
yeah,
to get like universal basic income. Everyone's going to get food. We're gonna figure out every problem we have on Earth, and then we're gonna go to the stars and help them fix theirs. And it's just such a positively human, way to look at the
yeah,
outcome. So
yeah.
yeah.
I had in the end I had a lot of fun creating Cryonic Dreams.
Sure. Well, walk me through the story, I guess, since I didn't have a chance
Sorry.
to walk me through the story. What's the pitch for the show for the book?
Oh, it's a
Perfect.
dystopian story.
Well, I mean that's and in fairness to Star Trek, you know, the idea that we've solved all the problems isn't really the focal point of that. It's just like it
Yeah,
just gives us the offshoot to go to the other worlds where the fascists are living and then deal with those problems, right? So like the more interesting part is the conflict between all these other worlds. But yeah, no, it's not like if the whole show is just people going about their day-to-day life on Earth and everything's fine, it would be pretty boring. So now you need the
yeah,
conflict,
yeah,
but it's just not the human conflict. It's the other
yeah,
races that are having the troubles, or every once in a while they slide in some kind of corruption in Starfleet or something, or but yeah.
yeah.
Well, what
Um,
particular type of dystopia are we in?
well, it's a little bit different because at its core, I have it's the main character, the doctor. She reanimates a cryonically preserved woman, so that's the core,
Hmm.
and it's about for me that was the opportunity to bring the past into the present
Hmm.
in that future. And the whole story, it's quite convoluted. And but you haven't got a copy of the book, have you?
I did know.
No, I'll make sure you get a PDF copy of the
Sure, I'd love
book.
to read it. Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, because in the front of the book, I have this what I call the century geopolitical timeline.
Oh,
Right?
cool. I
And
love books that do that. Yeah.
it lays out a series of events between now and when the
Hmm.
story actually takes place. And what I've done is I've woven things that are happening in the world today um, that you might extrapolate and eventually end up with a future like Cryonic Dreams.
Hmm.
I gave you the link to my website.
Hmm.
Um, it's actually in there under in the canon and law section.
Yeah, it's a very rich kind of full. I love like when sci-fi does that because I mean, obviously as a fan yourself, you're probably familiar that like as a kid, you're like I was reading like the Star Wars, Star Trek books, like anything you can
Yes.
do to get
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
much of the thing you love, more of it, even though it's not another movie, but hey, I can read, I can build, I can read the lore. And I would buy all those like visual arts books that would show or these like these huge books that would have like all the stories of every character, even the ones from the books. So I would
Oh, yes,
love,
yes, yes.
yeah, digging into
I,
that.
I mean, I'd like to one day, when the trilogy's finished,
Mhm,
I wouldn't mind coming out with publishing a canon and law version
mhm,
of the three stories. I think with the work I've already done, and I've got a lot more coming,
mhm.
um, it just fills in all um, the richness in the background of the story. So you read the book and it creates the story, and the drama and the emotions and the technology that drives it all.
Hmm.
But there are things underneath, like how the characters feel about a particular thing, or what it means, what they mean to each other,
Hmm.
or how this interacts with or how they interact with a certain scene.
Hmm.
There's just a lot more information that I've put into that canon and lore
Hmm.
that really provides a greater richness to the story.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Um, you got to be careful though, so because there are spoilers in there. So anybody who's going to go in there should be mindful that if you haven't read the book, there might be spoilers.
No, well,
I've tried to keep them to a minimum, and
mhm.
it's particularly what's on the website now really only deals with what happens in Awakening in part one.
Mhm.
I'll come out with um, more information
Yeah,
once the other two parts are out.
that's cool. No, it's expansive, and it's funny. It's just talking with you. There's a few things I want to talk to you about, but one of them is I recently started discovering like old sci-fi. Like, as a kid, you're reading what you can grab. Usually stuff connected to the worlds, but I've kind of gone back just mostly through. I think it was like Paul Giamatti, the actor. He used to have a podcast
Oh,
I
yeah.
listened to. And it was
Yeah.
mostly talking about like ghosts or like he's really interested in supernatural stuff. So it was like ghosts or Bigfoot or him and a philosophy professor would just like have celebrities on and talk about crazy stuff. But he often would refer to these old sci-fi novels, and I've sort of like woodmarking them down because he would. And I've got into like Ursula K. Le Guin and people like that. I never really read much growing up. I mean, I asked him off at all the classics, Ellison and stuff. I've
Oh,
got
Asimov, yeah, the classics.
yeah. But and she's up there too. I just never really realized it, I guess, because like I know the Earthsea books are really popular, but the but like the Lathe of Heaven and the Left Hand of Darkness and all these sort of like cool, like there's so many expansive, wild, insane concepts and ideas in these old books that like
Mm,
are kind of
yeah.
forgotten. So like I love that there's like a real um kind of renaissance of that with current writers. I talked to another guy in here, I believe, who maybe is represented by the same person
Yeah.
as you that I had the show on
There,
back who is doing that
there
stuff.
are so many worlds that have been created in these novels.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, world building for my story it was a lot of fun, and I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it. But you quickly find how big you can make it, because it
Oh, yeah.
becomes an entire universe, especially when we go outside one book and start talking about, two or three. Then the universe really starts to expand,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to have all these interconnections to give a sense of reality,
Yeah.
to the whole structure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again, it's a lot of fun, but you can imagine all the authors in, since H.G. Wells, all the worlds that have been created.
Mhm.
It's just mind-boggling,
Yeah.
and a lot too.
Yeah, well, like just especially how like I like how you mentioned how expansive it is because I imagine you could just write a book that's like just the human history from now till 20, 20 whatever the year this is, 21 something from your book. So like the idea that like, because once you start building, you're like, well, that could lead to this and this could, and then the world could be this way. Like you could literally just write an alternative history book.
Yeah,
So like that's why I find the beauty of some of like these human stories. And I wanted to mention like the when you're working on the stuff in your career and the concise work, but like I think an important part of writing is knowing people. In a position like yours, I'm sure you've met people from every type of
oh
walk of
yes,
life
yeah,
through the system. So I feel like the having connections with people, which is a big part of service, would
yeah,
definitely fill into that. So um, but yeah, the world building part of it, while fun, can I imagine it's easy to get just go to that, because like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
instead of trying to like delve with the more personal story of people. But I mean, like any story, that's usually the most interesting one. It's not about
yeah,
I think it was Stephen King or something, or somebody described Stephen King's writing as saying it's not about the monster in the house, it's about the people that live in the house with the monster, right?
yes, yeah.
So.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's quite often about the drama
Mm.
that's created, and it's the emotions, you know, that you put into the characters
Mm,
that actually drive the story. So,
mm,
and if the characters uh, are less, if they're less than interesting, then you're not going to read the book, are you?
mhm,
So, and that drama that you build between the characters is what keeps people reading and turning the pages,
mm.
whether you like drama or not. And,
Well,
and we don't often talk about drama in terms of science fiction, do we? It's
no, but like any
but
story, you boil it down, that's kind of what it is. Like,
yes, it's human drama.
yeah, like even take Star Wars and say, okay, well, like the fight between the fascism of the Empire and the plucky rebels, and even if you pick
Yeah,
other stories that are a little more like other movies or series in that world that are a little more down to earth, or not down to earth, but not about that particular conflict, it's still people fighting with people, or alien people, but they're still people.
yeah,
It's a person, he's just blue or something, right? Like it's no different. But do
yeah.
you have like the fact that the centers, or at least the core of the story centers around cryogenics? Is that something that's always been an interest of yours leading into this?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how I got the idea.
Hmm.
It was actually a bad dream I had once.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was just a bad dream. I woke up. I remember it was seeing the cryo tube or whatever.
Hmm.
At the moment, this woman opened her eyes, and then, but all of a sudden, as bad dreams do, they change quickly, and all of a sudden, I was the one in the tube, and I stepped out, and as I walked away, it was dark all around me, and these hands just came out of the ground and tried to pull me down, and hearing this voice saying, "You don't belong, you don't belong." So that actually gave me the idea of waking somebody in the future
Hmm.
after being cryopreserved. Uh, but it actually goes further back than that. I do recall, I think it was Robert, um, science fiction
Heinlein?
writer.
Heinlein?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, him.
Starship Troopers guy?
Ah, yes.
Yeah. And Stranger in a Strange Land, I think. I don't know, there's a couple of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
But it was a very early book. It was because I was quite young when I read it. I might have been in my teens, and it was about the story of a person who, I can't even remember what the story was about because I've read so many other books. It's just blended all into one. But there was a particular section where he cryopreserved himself for 30 years, and then when he came out, he was met by his grown granddaughter or something like that. So it was an interesting take, and I think that sat with me and sort of planted the seed of this cryonics. And it's not on the website yet, but I've produced basically the technical proposal that Dr. Michelle Brown submits to get her approval to proceed with the procedure. So it's a full report, and it's got all the technical requirements of waking the person and the use of nanites and when they're used and the whole process. I did some research for that, of course, but that's what gave me the idea, and the character that gets woken. There are bits in the story that try to fill in the blanks, and there will be more on part 2. So it's not just about the doctor who's the main character in the first book. It's very much about what's happened to this woman that's been cryopreserved. Because when she wakes, she doesn't actually have any memory of her past. And so they start to try and fill the gaps. Mysteriously, they do find a microdot in her arm, which did contain a lot of information, but in the process of reanimating her and using the nanites to repair her broken body, if you like, it damaged the microdot. So all they got off the microdot was a name and a year. But then that comes in handy later on when they meet, without giving a lot away.
No, of course. It sounds cool. I'm excited. I'm excited. It sounds really neat.
Yeah, but they meet an engineer who then joins them, who has the same last name. And it turns out that she looks very much like an old ancestor that they have a portrait of in an old estate.
Okay.
Now, the future is completely different, and old suburbs and things in cities are no longer utilized. I'll say one more thing, I suppose, without again. There is an epidemic running on Earth, and so they built like domed cities, and they're huge. I call them ecotropolises because they're self-sustaining, and but they're also called clean skin cities because only the people that are immune to disease can actually live in them. And it gets very convoluted.
No, it's very
anyway,
cool. So it sounds great. Sounds like a rich field
as it
living
turns
world.
out, to find out more about her past, they have to go to this estate, and that's another part of the story, which is it breaks from the whole technical aspects of the world that I'd created up until then, because you're sort of revisiting the past, going to an old family estate, which is overrun by, it's almost being overrun by the jungle, but what happens there is quite interesting. So it's an ordeal they experience, but
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that because I don't want to give too much
No, that
away.
sounds cool. I'm interested. Yeah. Yeah, you got me. Um, yeah, I've always found cryogenics funny, because, well, not funny, interesting. Because obviously, as people, I mean, we're all and you have a story that's connected to the past, to the future. Everybody wants to find some way to live on, right? So
Yeah.
cryogenics is like the current thing where, like, rich people can afford to freeze their bodies or their heads in the hope that one day they'll come back. But there's like stories coming out now about like companies that go bankrupt, that have these
Yeah.
bodies frozen in like warehouses
Well,
somewhere,
yeah,
and
yeah,
what they're going to do with them, right? Or the family members of these people, and like it's such a funny way that like we try, I'm sure the reasoning behind what this lady goes through in the book
yeah,
is different than this, but the idea that like we're trying to escape death in any way possible, and the messy, weird, stupid human stuff still it still gets you
yeah.
in the end. Like you can pay for that giant like vault to lock your body up in, but eventually the company's going to go broke and they're going to just dump you in an
Well,
incinerator or
that's
something. It's like can't keep you
that's
frozen, right?
yeah, that's exactly right. You can do all you can to try and preserve yourself,
Yeah.
but if the company goes broke, then it's all
Yeah.
been for naught, right?
Yeah. Just calling your
So
family and be like, we
you've got
have
no
your
control over that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just calling up someone. Actually, that's not a bad like short story idea to call someone up and be like, "Hey, your great grandfather who's been here for frozen in here for 100 years. We can't afford to keep him anymore. So,
yeah, yeah. Hey,
like,
you can have him.
yeah, it'd be kind of funny if you could just let him out early. Be like, well, we have let him out now. He's like, he wanted to wait till 700, but but the idea that and like I think it was Warren Ellis, who's a comic book writer. He's an English comic writer. He had a story one time. It was in this book he wrote called Transmetropolitan, which is kind of a future book. I want to call it dystopia. I mean, it is kind of, but it's not necessarily like the world has gone through some kind of thing. It's just
Yeah,
what he perceives we're going to be eventually, and it's all like people that are enhanced by technology and like, and the lead character is sort of an analog for um, Hunter S. Thompson. And there's like all these. He's a journalist in the book, and he's sort of like doing these stories about people in the future and what it's about. And there's one story which is about a woman that gets frozen and gets thawed out, and like her trying to like what the world, like the culture shock of coming out of being frozen and
yes,
like now to like
yeah,
500 years from now to be like
yeah.
having to learn the language and seeing all the strange people and the strange whatever.
Well, it could very well be like that too.
Yeah.
You wake up and even the language has changed so that you just don't understand what's
Mm.
being said.
Well, it's even funny to
Uh,
me that like companies would honor that. Like, why, like 1,000 years from now, would they be like, no one's gonna care. We can just dump this person. Like you assuming the company still exists and be like, like why would they? You just have to hope that they're an honorable company. That's going to,
yeah. Well,
some,
that's right. I
yeah,
mean, uh, it's interesting the practical side um, of cryonics.
mm,
If you want to freeze yourself, why would you want to wait 1,000 years, for
mm.
example?
Yeah,
Would you
exactly.
not? Would you not want to say because you'd have to write it into the contract
Yep.
that you would want to be reanimated at some point?
Hmm.
So perhaps that might be as simple as as soon as they can do it, do the
Yeah,
reanimation process effectively, then that's when you wake me
yeah.
or
Or
reanimate.
mortality's figured out. I can live
Yeah.
forever now.
So, I haven't actually um, researched like contractual side.
That would be
Uh,
interesting. I'd be,
it would be interesting.
yeah.
I know there's the legal side of this would be, I think, mind-boggling because,
Oh, yeah.
uh, as you say, even um, arranging it through the company. What happens if the company does go broke?
Mhm.
You know,
Someone's got to pay to keep the power on.
that's exactly right. And just because there might be a swell initially of people that want to do this, in 50 years' time or 100 years' time, nobody wants to do it. Or, for example, um, I I think it is coming, but from a technological point of view, we will be able to make ourselves more youthful,
Yeah.
right? And stay younger for longer. So, in 50 years, nobody needs cryogenics because we're already living for 300 years, for
Hmm.
example, or longer.
Hmm.
And that's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so cryonics, unless of course you just want to take a break, cryonics could be
Sure.
perfected to such an extent you say, "Hey, I need a timeout."
Hmm.
50 years, 100 years, I'll come back.
I like that idea. It's like I'm just tired. I mean, we've all been there. You're like, I've had enough. I want 50 years of sleep, and then I'll come out and figure out the internet.
Yeah.
And you like you wake up and
And
like your country doesn't exist anymore. Like nobody's, like you're part of someone. Like what happened? So you speak
uh,
German now. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Like
that is interesting to think about.
yeah.
Um, but anyway,
Well, it's like
uh,
anything, any kind of concept with sci-fi. You can there's lots of fun and interesting but I feel like, and that's why I mentioned in your book. Well, a lot of reasons I mentioned your book, but um, it's easy to get lost in the hey, it's so cool we can do this. But I think in the world in a modern day world, I think we do that too, where like companies are like, hey, isn't it cool if you have glasses that can, like Google Glass or whatever now, or you can do this thing. And sometimes I don't think it's thought about the human connection to it. Like, sure, we can do all this stuff now, but should we? Like, I know AI is like a
of
big
course,
conversation, but that's an obvious one that's
yeah.
connected to our modern day world. Like, should we allow this to do what it does? It can, but should it? Like you can do anything, but should you? Like it's the people get so wrapped up in the hey, we can do this more than the philosophical questions about should we do this. But I feel like with technology, especially, once it's
Oh,
out there,
look,
you can't take
yeah,
it back. It's
absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot of technology in Chronic Dreams as well, and
Mhm.
one of the personal tech, if you like,
Yeah.
is um, everybody wears contacts, and those contacts actually allow you to see augmented information,
Mm.
and the city controls the augmentation. So if you want directions to go somewhere or you need information, it'll just appear in your
Yeah.
contacts.
Great.
Yeah. So and I mean, there's lots of other technology like that, but there are a lot of things. You're absolutely right, that technology is advancing at a phenomenal rate, and just because we can doesn't mean we should,
Hmm.
have some of these things. I mean, the biggest one is artificial intelligence, and I mean that's also in my book.
Hmm.
There's several elements. Some are bad and some are good.
Hmm.
So, but a lot of people have a fear about that.
Mm.
And what I did in my book was uh, the good AI, if you like, are decentralized.
Hmm.
So you buy an AI system and which is loaded onto your home's network, whatever.
Hmm.
And its sole purpose is to provide you with everything you need in terms of information,
Mm.
where to find things, and it also protects your home network from intrusion by others.
Mm.
So rather than these centralized systems that we're seeing at the moment, it's a standalone package that you can take home, set up, and it will look after your home.
Mm.
So, but and I don't think that's anything new that hasn't been discussed before.
Mm.
But certainly, the way I look at it is that that solution is better than centralized solution which continues to gather more and more and more information.
Yeah, so they're condensed to the
Um,
home, the
yeah,
specific, yeah. Well, that
yeah,
makes sense. But yeah, I mean, since the inception of that concept, it seems to always go negative. There's rarely like, from Terminator to whatever, there's always some,
yeah,
and lots of stuff
yeah,
before that, even like
yeah.
Alien, for instance. And for like the new Alien show, have you watched any of that? The one that's on Disney?
Which one?
The new Alien TV show? Earth, Alien Earth.
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's
I'll
cool.
have to.
It's
I'll have to
like
look that up.
it's by Noah Hawley, the guy that did the Fargo TV show.
The last
But
one I watched was oh,
Romulus?
no, I can't think of the name.
No,
Um,
Covenant or Prometheus, one of those ones.
mm, I think it was a George Martin one. No, it wasn't George Martin. It was what was it? It was on Netflix just up until a couple of years. Yeah, a
Oh,
couple of
okay.
years ago.
Well, they have this new
Yeah,
one, which is kind of like a prequel to the original Alien film, and it made me think of a little bit. We're talking about this concept because there's this. They have the replicants, the synthetics, like from the original one, but there's also
yep,
like they have kind of varying versions now. So there's like cyborgs, humans that are augmented by technology, and then there's the synthetics that are always been,
yep.
artificial intelligence. And now they have this method to, if you're dying, they can put your consciousness in a robot body. So you were human at one point, not really anymore.
Transhumanism.
Yeah. And but they're all children, but they're in adult bodies because the bodies won't age. So they have to put them. So, they're like, and of course, all this gets wrapped up into a
Yeah,
ship crash landing on Earth that has an alien egg in it, and where it goes from there. Um, but that concept and that idea that like escaping death, and this is like a new way to do that is, I don't know. I find it like I assume I don't know who it was, but somebody once said like almost every story is about death, whether it does seem to be or isn't, because that's what people probably think about the most. It's also the things people can't really talk about the most. Like for all the
yeah,
concepts that we talk about as humans, the deeply human stuff, the one thing that we all are definitely going to share is that. And nobody ever talks about it because everyone's too scared of it. So the idea that, mostly every story is in some roundabout way of trying to avoid it, I find the central figure of cryogenics and that being the way
yeah,
is is an interesting one. So
yeah,
that's very cool.
yeah. I will have to look that up.
Yeah, yeah, check it out. Do you have other stories in mind for after this is done? Like, do you have other genres you want to traverse? Or are you happy to stay in the sci-fi world?
Um, oh, look, it depends on a number of things.
Hmm.
Like I said, I have the trilogy of
Hmm.
Cryonic Dreams, and then I've got another one which I've already started making notes for,
Hmm.
which is Evil Under a Twilight Star. So that's set in a universe, and it's about um, a group of people that have crash landed on this. It's a planet near a brown star, right?
Okay.
So it's not a very mature star, and the days are twilight at best,
No, yeah.
and with lots of darkness. So I'm looking forward to writing that one because uh, it's a generational ship that's crashed. So there's a lot of people,
Hmm.
um, and there's a lot of survivors, but the story takes place 5,000 years after the event.
Hmm.
So people really have forgotten where
Hmm.
they've come from, and they know that um, they don't belong to the planet because there's nothing um, in the geology beyond 5,000 years.
Hmm.
So they have an understanding that they're not from there, but they just don't know
Hmm.
um, their history. So and I'm looking to So that one is going to be more like a thriller horror, if you like.
Yeah.
So it'll be science fiction from a number of angles, but then it'll have, because the main character is an alcohol-fueled old style detective,
Oh,
right?
perfect. I love that.
So I mean, and then it starts, the story starts with him going to his office, and um, a client happens to come in, which is a woman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a noir
So
mixed with that's really fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be a mixture of things, and so there'll be a bit of horror in that one.
Nice.
And I'm looking forward to writing that one. So
Do you have an affinity for horror? Like, are you a fan of horror movies, films, books?
I've never been really been able to watch horrors. I'm one of those people that really gets into the characters,
Mm.
and I remember when I watched, The Thing,
Oh, one of my favorites. Yeah,
the
John Carpenter.
1980, whatever it was when it came
Yeah.
out. Despite, I mean, you look at it now, it's aged, but back then when I,
I don't know, man. I still think it's a perfect movie. I think it holds. I watched it. I think last winter again, because I host a movie night at a bar here, and we just do fun cult movies, and we did that one last year, and I've watched it probably I don't know 5 6 times in my life, and I don't know I still love it. It's such a great movie.
I still like it
Yeah.
as well. But that first time I watched it in the cinema,
Mhm.
I actually had to physically get up and walk out because I was terrified, and
Mhm.
the just the what was going to happen next. I couldn't take it, so I
Mhm.
had to take a 10-minute breather and then come back.
Well, that's good. I mean, you're an empathetic person. That generally makes for the best kind of writer.
Uh,
You know.
yeah, no, I get into the characters, and I'm living their experience right there. So
Especially when they're getting murdered or
yeah,
morphing into
yeah. Oh, the
melding.
horror.
Yeah. Well, interestingly too, I mean, something I've been a little connected with lately is I mean, obviously, as someone who has a military career, you must be interested in a lot of these like things that are getting released now, relating to like sci-fi stuff, like aliens and stuff by the government, the American government at least, where they're like
Oh,
just releasing all these things and being like, here's this footage of this thing. We don't know what it is. And I remember thinking about like how disassociated we are as people when like all of a sudden they're like, hey, aliens exist, or at least something does. We don't know what it is. And it's like it's out there doing something. We don't know what, and everyone's like, and nobody seemed to care that much. I'm like, Mike, this is like one of the biggest revelations of like they're showing footage of like Foo Fighters and like you can't, they're moving crazy, and then like
yeah.
I remember they had like a general on the Daily Show or something who wrote a book about all of it, kind of that they revealed that they know the government knows and is released for public knowledge. And they said
Right.
he's like, we know they're out there. We know they're very interested in our nuclear technology. They hang around there a lot. And then we're like, like, what does that mean? Like it's like that you're
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's no way to get an answer unless you talk to one of these things. But yeah, it's wild that like all of a sudden it's just like public knowledge and no one seems to give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I haven't actually drilled into those at all
Mm.
much, other than knowing that there have been a lot of press about them. I've been a bit too busy writing,
Yeah, well,
but
that's good.
but yeah, it's one of those things. You get in. Once I start writing, I get into the zone and I
Mm.
just lose hours. But yeah, it's amazing anyway.
Yeah, no, that's wild.
Mm.
Um, awesome. Well, do you have any I know you like the first book is out. It's available. You can get
Yep.
it on Amazon and other bookstores, I assume.
Yeah,
But
you can. Yeah, it's on
yep,
Amazon. Yep.
yep. And there's a link
Um,
to it on the website as well.
and I've got the website. Yep.
Yep, which is johncarlos.com.
John,
johnrcarlos.com.
so it's John R. Carlos.
Carlos.
Yep.
Yep.
.com.au. Don't forget the
Yes,
AU at
right,
the end.
right. You got that Australia, that Australian website.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Cool. Well, so the end goal now that you're retired is just continuing on with writing and
Yeah,
doing
look,
this. Yeah.
I'm gonna just write as much as I can for as long as I can, and hopefully, yeah, along the way, people will be, uh, you know, interested in reading the stories.
Hmm.
I mean, that's why you write the stories.
Oh, of
Hopefully,
course, yeah.
hoping that people will actually pick it up and read it. And but I've got a lot of good reviews, so
Yeah, the site's full of them, which is awesome. So,
yeah. So hopefully, that'll just continue to improve. I
was
mean,
it?
that's why I'm here with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to help spread the word.
Was this like a shock or a surprise to family members or anyone in your life that was like, you're done, you're retired, you're like, now I'm
Well,
writing a sci-fi book?
yeah,
Yeah,
there was surprise by some. Others were initially skeptical.
really?
Sometimes because a lot of people, you've met them,
Hmm.
and they say, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and 12 months later, you say, "How'd that think go?" Well, I didn't
Yeah.
finish, didn't get around to it, whatever. Or they started it and they stopped it.
Hmm.
So for me, actually finishing this after taking me so long to get it
Hmm.
actually to print was a real accomplishment,
Oh yeah,
and
no.
so and I just hope that people enjoy reading it.
Yeah. Well, you can say, I always say this, you can say what you want about any really bad movie or bad book or bad comic
Yeah,
or bad whatever you read or saw,
yeah,
bad play, bad album, whatever.
yeah,
But the fact that they finished it is almost like, because so many people are bad. Like, I'm guilty of it. I think everybody, I know someone is
yes,
guilty of it, of starting something,
yeah,
never finishing and getting too busy. But having the
yeah.
wherewithal and the drive and, the determination
To actually
yes.
to completion is
That is rare. You know?
yeah, it's an achievement. Yeah.
And that's the
Um,
funny part because some of the bad things that get made are because the people have the drive, just not the talent. So it's
yeah,
sometimes hard to find, to get or then you get people that are like prolific, like Stephen King or
yeah,
something, that write like 4 books a year, and
yeah,
and
exactly.
they're all great. It's just like it's wild. So, but
Yeah,
no, I think that I'm also like getting to as you get older, you sort of realize that things are hard, life's hard. It's not to crap on something because you don't like it. Is
no,
easy,
that's right. Yeah,
and don't rob someone else. Like I often say, it's not for me if it's something I've seen I don't like.
exactly.
Because yeah, I don't want someone else to feel bad. Like I'm sure you'd be like, hey, you like that album? Why would you like that? That's stupid. Like don't make someone feel bad about liking something.
No, you
So
you allow people to make their own minds up about these
yeah,
things.
have their own
So
joy.
yeah. So I
But
mean, I approach it the same way you do. I say, yeah, that I read it, I saw it, whatever, and
yeah,
yeah, it was okay. But you see it and see for yourself. See what you
yeah.
think.
And I feel like
Yeah,
in our kind of modern society, people have this. It's everyone sort of
yeah,
screaming into the void, wanting to be seen. So sometimes, like everybody needs to have an opinion about everything, regardless of whether you're involved with it or not. And it's like I feel like the world would be a much better place if it's not for you. You just leave it and go about your day. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's my philosophy anyway for better living. Sounds like you're in the same boat. Awesome.
One thing I just
Sure.
I, I I did want to say was
Absolutely.
this timeline of events that I put in the beginning of the
Hmm.
story. Um, if if you look at it yourself, you might see that there are some similarities between what I've written and things that might be happening around now.
Hmm.
So the point of what I did was I was trying to um, look at the world we live in now and um, see how that would turn out.
Hmm.
So what I learned for myself from going through this exercise, because on my website there's also a mind map which I spent some time on, and that has a lot of variables uh, about society and humanity in general.
Hmm. Oh,
And
wow. Wow, that's encompassing. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
and so when I put this together with the events, I ended up with a what's called a framework of causation,
Mhm.
right? And I was able to spell out um, exactly what's happening now
Mm.
in the world. So I thought it was a really interesting and eye-opening experience for me going through this process, because what it showed to me was that if we don't change the direction we're going in currently, then the future doesn't look very bright at all.
Mhm.
And
Oh, I
what
agree.
Yeah, and what I also represented in there was that because if you look at all the events,
Mhm.
you'll see that there's a what I call the second enlightenment, and it's the human condition. I think is cyclical, and I try to show that because in the end we make the very same mistakes again.
Mhm.
So, but have a look for yourself. I think it's quite an interesting
No, I
set of
think
events.
it's very cool. I often talk about and interesting that you said you have another book coming that sort of delves into horror a little bit because I kind of feel like space and the future and all this stuff is kind of already a little bit terrifying.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I once heard H.P. Lovecraft and that sort of stuff described as existential like horror, and
yeah.
somebody described it as the direct conflict between humans' desire to have meaning and purpose, and then the
Yep.
universe is not giving a crap about that at all. So like
Right.
the idea that like
Well, yeah.
y-
That I mean, the universe is a mechanical
yeah,
set of processes,
yep,
and we look for spirituality in that process.
hmm,
So you can see that nothing might reflect back.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I like stuff
which
that
is why
delves into
we
that.
create our own meaning.
Yeah, that's what I always say. I say I don't necessarily think that life has a particular purpose. I think that we make what we make of it is our purpose. So if
Yeah,
you want to do good,
yeah.
you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to surround yourself with good people,
Well,
that's
exactly
your
right.
meaning. So
Exactly right.
well, that's a nice positive way to leave this. So thank you so much for being on, John. I really appreciate it.
No, that's fine, Andre. You are my first podcast,
Oh,
so
what? Oh man, well, hopefully
yeah.
first of many.
So yeah, I appreciate uh, the initiation, if you like.
Oh, great. Well, hopefully they're all as fun as this one. I had a lot of fun, so thank you.
No worries.
All right.
Thanks for having me on your show, and I'll see you online, I suppose, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah. I look forward to reading the book and make sure everyone listening go check out John R. Carlos,
Yep.
johnrcarlos.com.au. Is it just .au?
And when the second one comes out, the second one I've got due probably towards the end of next year, should be
Hmm.
out. I'd be happy to come back on your show and have another quick chat if you want.
Yeah, sure. I've been thinking about doing that more with people when they have new books. So just do like a 15, little minute to plug in the next one. So yeah, happily let me know when that's out there and I'll be sure to share it across. I'll also share the link to your site on the bio when
Excellent.
the episode's out too. So
That's
awesome.
terrific, Andre.
Oh, no
Thank you very
problem.
much.
Thank you. There you have it, my conversation with John R. Carlos. A very cool talk with a very cool author. Very happy to have him on the show. And once again, not meaning that to be a pun. Sometimes it just happens, folks. It's just sometimes puns just happen. Next week on the show, I'm talking with Bob Schreck, who is a very titanic figure in the comics industry. During our talk, I often referred to him as the Zelig of comics. He's been around for a lot of huge moments in comics and been a part of it in various ways, whether it be in the convention circuit, co-creating Oni Press, working as editor for DC on the Batman books, and All-Star Superman and All-Star Batman and all kinds of Hush and Batman 100. And working with Paul Pope, helping Mike Allred get in the industry, rubbing elbows with guys like Dave Stevens, and working early on with Matt Wagner. I mean, Bob has been a huge part of comics for a very long time, and it was an amazing chat. You know, sometimes I say I always have a good conversation. Sometimes, to me, it just flows. It's like we're speaking the same language, and it turns into it's the sweet spot of the interviews, especially with me, and this was definitely one of them. So one of my favorites, I'd have to say, if I were to list them all. And I don't want to take favorites, but you know, some just seem to flow a little easier. Some people like to talk, and a real conversationalist, and Bob is one of them. So it's a great conversation, and it's a great chat. It's coming up next week, so tune into that. But in the meantime, stay safe, have fun, read some comics, and read some spooky comics. Watch a horror movie, buy some Halloween decorations. 'Tis the season. This program is a proud part of the Swear to Pod Network.